perform his action, his prescribed activity. So we will start with Mangala Charan and we will discuss. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Nama Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Ti Namine Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Nama Madhure Ujjvala Premadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Te Nama Namaste Kauravani Shri Murte Dinatarine Rupanuga Virodhapa Upasiddhant Dvantaharine Hare Krishna. So today is the very auspicious divine appearance day of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur also. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he very vehemently preached the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, and he also believed that who can preach? He says, Pranachete Horete Prachar. One who has life. One who is living. Lord Chaitanya, we discussed the living force, the character of the living force. So the soul who is actually alive, who is awake in proper consciousness, what he will do? He will practice Krishna consciousness and he will spread Krishna consciousness. So here we see from Bhagavad-gītā that Krishna is clearing up the doubts. The third chapter begins with Arjuna's very deep-rooted doubts. It is not Arjuna's deep-rooted doubt, it is the doubt of all the conditioned souls. What is the doubt? That they do not want to perform their duties. They somehow want to have some excuse, some reason or the other, where they want to avoid dutiful action wherever there is some difficulty or there is some struggle. So Krishna is clearing up. Krishna is not only for Arjuna, for future generations to come, for all of us. Krishna is telling Arjuna that for you at your level, what is preferred is to perform action rather than to be renounced and be situated in jnana. So, having said that, St. Krishna gave the very important principle. The principle that the embodied soul can never remain inactive. Nahi kashi shanamapi jatu tishtanti akarmakrit karate hi avasha karma sarve prakriti jarguna. So this is the nature. This is the nature of the soul. What is the nature of the soul? The active principle. That the soul by nature is always active. So if one wants to stop acting, then that is the unnatural situation. It can never happen. So Krishna, having said that, and then he condemned the pseudo spiritualist, those who do not perform their prescribed action and make a show of show bottle spiritualist. We will share on the screen the verses today. So Krishna, in the 5th verse of the 3rd chapter, he established this principle that everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the guna. According to the guna means the rope. Guna also means the quality. According to the quality that he has acquired from the material modes. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. So if one wants to give up his prescribed duty, then what he is doing? He is making a show. How? Krishna gives the principle in the 6th verse that we discussed last time, and we will continue from 7th today, just to connect. So Krishna says that one whose working senses one is trying to artificially restrain from engaging his prescribed duty, but on the mental platform, he is always thinking about the sense enjoyment. So such a person whose senses are not in control, senses are not yet purified, such a person is a show bottle spiritualist, or rather he is a pretender. So having spoken that, now Krishna comes to the 7th verse. So we see in today's scenario, you will find so many show bottle spiritualists. These are all mithyataris. They're pretenders. They show themselves as if they are in renounced order. But actually, their realization and their purification both are lacking. Now Krishna contrasts. So Prabhupada says that such a pretender's mind is always impure, and therefore his show of yogi meditation has no value whatsoever. So this is of those who are showing themselves as monks, as renunciates, as sannyasis, but actually their consciousness, they are not at that level. And now Krishna, in the 7th verse, he contrasts with a pretender to one who is a sincere practitioner. So there are two aspects. One is a pretender, that we saw what Krishna is referring to. One who has not been sufficiently purified. One who has not been situated in knowledge. One who has not come to the level of detachment. But if he makes show of it, he is a pretender. Whereas the other person, this is the 7th verse, what Krishna says, Yastu indriyani manasa niyamya arabhate arjuna karmendriya karma yogam asakta sa vishishyate. This is the 7th verse of this 3rd chapter. Yastu indriyani manasaha. One who is trying to regulate his mind. How? By regulating his senses. And how? What is the process? By karmendriya karma yogam. By engaging the senses in his prescribed actions. How? Asakta asa vishishate. Without being attached to the action, the outcome of the action, which is the fruit of the action. Vishishyate means he is special or he is far better. So on the other hand, if someone is not in the renounced order, Someone is a normal folk of person. He is a householder. But what he is doing, he is trying to control the active senses by the mind. How? By following the regulative principles. And he begins karma yoga in Krishna consciousness without attachment. He is by far superior. Krishna chose Arjuna to speak Bhagavad-gītā. He did not choose any sannyasi. Why? Because Arjuna was a sincere person. Arjuna was not a pretender. He did not go to the big brahmanas or to big sannyasis. Radha Krishna selected only Arjuna. Why? Because Arjuna has this quality. So instead of becoming a pseudo-transcendentalist for the sake of wanton living and sense enjoyment, it is far better to remain in one's own business and execute the purpose of life. So Prabhupada is very practical. He is saying to remain in one's own business. What is the business? In normal walks of life. But one should execute the purpose of life. What is the purpose of life that we will discuss? The purpose of life is only one, is to liberate the soul from the bondage of the body, which is to get free from the material bondage and enter into the kingdom of God. That is the prime Swartha Gati. Gati means the destination, or Gati also means the goal. And what is the highest goal? The highest goal is to attain freedom for all kinds of bondage. And the culmination of the freedom is to enter into the kingdom of the God. You come to Mayapur, you will see what is kingdom of God. This is actually kingdom of God. It exists. Those who do not believe, come here and see for yourself what is kingdom of God. So that is the Swartha Gati. Swartha Gati means the highest benefit for the self. Or the goal of self-interest is to reach Vishnu. But in today's scenario, hardly anyone knows Swartha. Swartha comes from the combination of two words. Swa, which means the self, and Artha. Artha means which is money or which is most valuable. So what is most valuable for the self? Swa Artha. Or which is the highest self-interest, is to reach the Supreme Lord, to have communion or connection with the Supreme Lord. And how that connection can be established in this chapter Krishna is emphasizing is through one's actions. It is not through giving up the action one can come in communion with the Lord. No. One has to perform his prescribed action so that he can come in communion. He can come in yoga. He can come in connection with the Supreme Lord. So that is the Swartha Gati. That is why Prahlad Maharaj says, Nate vidu Swartha Gatim hi Vishnu durashaya bahi artha manina. So Prahlad Maharaj in his discourse, he is speaking, he is revealing that men who are of small fund of knowledge, those who are not situated in spiritual knowledge, they do not have this understanding or this realization. Nate vidu Swartha Gati. What is the Swartha Gati? Is Vishnu. Is to reach the Supreme Lord. Why? Because they have taken Durashaya. Ashraya means to take shelter or to take refuge or to be guided by. So they are not guided by Vishnu. They are not guided by the devotees of Vishnu. What they have taken instead? Durashaya. Dur means which is very difficult or which is very dangerous. What is the shelter they have sought or what guidance they are being guided by? Bahi artha manina. They are guided by the illusionary energy, the external energy. So what is their situation? Andha yatha andha. So one is blind. Like a blind man is leading the other blind man. So what will be the outcome? Will they be able to reach to their destination safe? If a person who is blind, who cannot see, and he wants to go home and while he has to go home, he has to cross the road. He has to cross the crossing. He cannot see. If he is guided by someone else who also cannot see, so what will be the result? What will be the outcome? He will meet with accident. He will meet with an accident. It is all possibility that he will be hit by a moving car or a vehicle. The whole institution of Varna and Ashram is designed to help us reach this goal of life. What is the goal of life? Is to reach Vishnu, is to reach the Super Soul, the Supreme Lord. And a householder can also reach this destination by regulated services in Krishna consciousness. So Krishna consciousness, the beauty of Krishna consciousness is it is all inclusive. No one is devoid. Let him be in any ashram. Let him be in any varna. Varna means he is not necessary that he has to be in Brahmana. He can be Shudra. And ashrama, not necessarily he has to be in sannyas. He can be grihastha. So he can be in any ashram and he can be in any varna, but he can reach the perfection, the swarth gati. How? By regulated service in Krishna consciousness. What is regulated service? Is devotional service. For self-realization, one can live a controlled life as prescribed in the Shastras. So what is the regulated services? That he follows the rules and regulations. And he performs actions, activities under guidance. And continue carrying out his business without attachment. And in that way, he can make progress. So, what is most important is that one should remain regulated. One should follow the regulative principles. And he should carry out the activities which are prescribed for him. A sincere person who follows this method is far better situated than a false pretender who adopts show bottle spiritualism to cheat the innocent public. It does not matter, one may be a street sweeper who on the social term is not considered a good status. But if he is following this principle, he is far better situated than a false pretender who adopts show bottle spiritualism to cheat the innocent people. And Prabhupada says, a sincere sweeper in the street is far better than the charlatan meditator who meditates only for the sake of making a living. So as the Kali Yuga will progress, you will see more and more pretenders, charlatans. They will be everywhere. And because of them, people do not have faith in spirituality. Because actually these are not spiritual people. They are pseudo-spiritualists. Because they are not following what they are supposed to do. Next, in the next verse, so Krishna gives the conclusion now. Having spoken 5th, 6th and 7th verse, where he said that one cannot restrain from performing an action, not even for a moment. And then he says that one who is trying to restrain artificially, but whose mind is always dwelling how to enjoy, such a person is pretender. And he's saying one who is following the regulative principle is far better. So what is the conclusion Krishna is giving in the 8th verse? Niyatam kuru karma tvam karmajayo hi akarmana sharir yatra pichate na prasidet akarmana. So Krishna is giving the conclusion. He is saying, Niyatam kuru karma tvam, that you always follow, perform your prescribed duties. Niyatam karma. Not any karma. Niyatam karma. Karma means which is prescribed to you. which you have according to Varna and Ashram, which is your duty to perform. And then he says, Karma Karmana. Jaya means which is higher or which is better. So prescribed action is always better than not performing action. Why? Because Sharir Yatra, we are in this Yatra. The Atma is in the Yatra of Sharir. He is passing from one body to another body. Komaram Yovanam Jara Tatha De Antara Praptis. So one cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. So if one does not perform work, his body also cannot be maintained. So there are many pseudo-meditators who misrepresent themselves as being great professional men of high parentage and who falsely pose that they have sacrificed everything for the sake of advancement in spiritual life. Lord Krishna did not want Arjuna to become a pretender. Rather, the Lord desired that Arjuna perform his prescribed duties as set forth for Kshatriyas. Arjuna was a householder and a military general, and therefore it was better for him to remain as such and perform his religious duties as prescribed for the householder Kshatriya. There is no need of change of ashram. There is no need to jump. What is required is to have a proper understanding of what one's role is and perform according to one's role. He should perform that action. Such activities gradually cleanse the heart of a mundane man and free him from material contamination. So-called renunciation for the purpose of maintenance is never approved by the Lord. So what is the meaning of so-called renunciation for the purpose of maintenance? Maintenance means the Sharir requires some necessities. What are the necessities the body requires? Is food. It requires food, shelter, clothing, so many things, so on and so forth. That is the maintenance of one body. So if one is making a show of renunciation for maintaining the body, that is not approved by the Lord, nor by any religious scriptures. After all, one has to maintain one's body and soul together by some work. He must perform some action. Work should not be given up capriciously without purification of materialistic propensities. Capriciously means independently, whimsically. So many times we see people, they want to change job or they want to change their profession. Why? Because they feel a lot of inconvenience, difficulty, or there is so much of struggle. But one should not. He will not be relieved. Even if he goes to any other profession, he tries any other area. He may try to go to some other country. As we see, people keep trying, keep hopping from one to another to the next. But that is not approved. Work should not be given up capriciously without purification of materialistic propensity. What is materialistic propensity? Is to enjoy the fruits of the work. Is to engage in sense gratification. Anyone who is in this material world is certainly possessed of impure propensity for lording it over material nature. So in other words, for sense gratification, such polluted propensities have to be cleared. Without doing so through prescribed duties, one should never attempt to become a so-called transcendental. So Krishna is hammering here. He is condemning Arjuna. He is telling Arjuna that abruptly or capriciously or without sufficient advancement, without sufficient purification and sufficient detachment, we discuss three things. Without proper training, knowledge and purification. If anyone wants to do something abruptly, he will never be successful. So such propensities first have to be cleared. Renouncing work and living at the cost of others. Otherwise, one will become a parasite. You know what is a parasite? Anyone? What is a parasite? Don't you know what is parasite?
Prabhuji, which live at the expense of others.
Yes, yes. Which live at the expense of others. Yeah. You know, there are some mosquitoes that suck bloods. We have experience. While we are sleeping, so a bug comes and it pricks in our body and it sucks blood. Of course, it pains also, it disturbs our sleep also. So what is that parasite? It is living, it is sustaining his life based on the blood it is sucking from others. So if one does not perform his prescribed duty, Krishna is comparing such a living entity to a parasite who is living at the cost of others. So in such a scenario, what should one do? How he should perform the action or activity which does not cause. The fundamental question Arjuna is raising, or the doubt he is having, is that if I do not perform work, I will be free from sinful reaction. So what is the easy process? That let me give up my duty. Let me give up my work. Because action will bring reaction, so best is to stop action. But that is not the solution Bhagavad-gītā is prescribing. So then what is the solution? How one has to perform his action? That Krishna is giving. Very important verse. One of the most important verse in this entire chapter is the 9th verse. So Krishna gives the art of work. In the 2nd chapter, Krishna spoke in the 50th verse. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. So what is that yoga karmasu kaushalam? Krishna describes here in the 3rd chapter. Yagyarthat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. Very, very powerful principle Krishna is giving. He says, how you have to perform your actions, your prescribed activities. Yagyarthat. Yagya means sacrifice. Arthat means according. So all actions have to be performed accordingly so that it becomes yagya. It becomes sacrifice. Otherwise, anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. That action that one performs will become the cause of his bondage in this material creation. Lokoyam, in this material existence, in this material planet, karma bandhana, he will be caught. He will be caught how? The very subtle rope. What is that subtle rope? Is of karma bandhana, which is not visible, but which cannot be released. Then what has one to do? Tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. So how to perform action? For the satisfaction of the Supreme. So work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Yag arthat karmano. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Anyatra loko ayam karma bandhana. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform for prescribed duties for his satisfaction. Tadartham karma kaunteya. And in that way, you will always remain free from bondage. Mukta sangha samachara. Samachara means imperfection or always. So what is this art of work? Krishna is giving a new term here. For the first time, Krishna is introducing the principle of sacrifice. Yajna. So what is yajna? Krishna is explaining, since one has to work even for simple maintenance of the body, the prescribed duties for a particular soul, social position, and quality are so made so that the purpose can be fulfilled. The prescribed duties for particular social position and quality means the social order. So in the Vedic times, there was always this social order of Varna and Ashram, which is called the Varna Ashram system. And that Varna Ashram system, after the Britishers came, it has been completely dismantled. Now there is no Varna Ashram, there is only Varna Sankara. Now what is Varna Sankara? Varna Sankara means that there is no order. It's a complete disorder, it's the mess. And what will Varna Sankara do? It will push one into the hellish life. Yajna means Lord Vishnu or sacrificial performance. So yajna means sacrifice. All sacrificial performance are also meant for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu. So yajna means that there has to be action, but that action is to be performed to satisfy the Lord. Because Yajnapati is Lord Vishnu. The Vedas enjoys Yajna vai Vishnu. In other words, the same purpose is served whether one performs prescribed yajnas or directly serves Lord Vishnu. Krishna consciousness is therefore performance of yajna as it is prescribed in this verse. So what is yajna? Yajna, as I said, it is entailing an element of sacrifice. And it is for the purpose of self-purification and self-realization. So as one performs yajna, he becomes purified. And not only he becomes purified, he is at the same time he is freed from the bondage of the action. So Krishna consciousness is compared to performance of yajna, because in Krishna consciousness, every activity is performed for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. The Varna Ashram institution also aims at satisfying Lord Vishnu. Varna Ashram Acharavat Purushena Parha Puman Vishnu Aradhate Pumsa Na Anyat Tattosh Karanat. Therefore, one has to work for the satisfaction of Vishnu. And any other work which is not for the satisfaction of Vishnu, which is for the satisfaction of the self or someone in connection with the self. So any other work done in this material world will be the cause of bondage. So Krishna is checkmating here. He is saying that if you do not perform sacrifice, what will be the result? You will be remaining in bondage. For both good and evil work have their reactions. And any reactions bind the performer. Therefore, one has to work in Krishna consciousness and satisfy Krishna or Vishnu. And while performing such activities, one is in liberated state. Say one is performing yajna, that means he is already freed, he is liberated. He is beyond the bodily conception. This is the great art of doing work. Yoga karmashu kaushalam. And in the beginning, the process requires very expert guidance. One should therefore act very diligently under the expert guidance of a devotee of Lord Krishna or under the direct instructions of Lord Krishna himself. So this is very important. If we do not act under instructions or guidance, how we will be acting? We will be acting independently or capriciously. And we saw in the last one Prabhupada is saying, one cannot act capriciously because it will cause bondage. Nothing should be performed for sense gratification. But everything should be done for the satisfaction of Krishna. This practice will not only save one from reaction of work, but also gradually elevate one to transcendental loving service of the Lord, which alone can raise one to the kingdom of God. Okay, I'll give a short class here. I will stop here. So Krishna is motivating Arjuna, and through Arjuna he is inspiring all of us that we should make every activity, every action of ours to become sacrifice yajna. By performing yajna, we will be liberated. Krishna will be satisfied. And there will be no reaction or no bondage to whatever action we perform. So this Krishna is very strongly recommended in this chapter. It is Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga means that connecting with the Supreme Lord through one's action, through one's activities. Okay, from next time we will start the next section. So Krishna will speak that if you cannot perform Karma Yoga, then at least come to the level of performing Karma Kand. Okay, so I'm stopping here. Any question, any discussion? Yes, Dolamani Bro. Unmute and speak.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, you told that there is no Varnashrama institution now. So we are all Varna Sankara and we are going towards hellish condition of life. So on that part, can you, more elaborate a bit more?
Yes, normally the scenario is because there is no Varnashram system. Because what is the purpose of Varnashram system? Is to is to please and serve the Supreme Lord Vishnu. And why the Varnashram system has been dispensed? Because everyone is more interested in own sense gratification. So what one has to do, Prabhupada is giving this very clearly, what we were discussing. See, Prabhupada is giving here. Therefore, one has to work in Krishna consciousness to satisfy Krishna or Vishnu, and while performing such activities, he is on liberated stage. This is the great art of doing work. And in the beginning, this process requires very expert guidance. So what one has to do? One has to remain under spiritual guidance. And he has to perform activity according to the instructions, not whimsically, what he likes or what he dislikes. Prabhupada says one should act very diligently under the expert guidance of a devotee of Lord or under the direct instruction of Krishna himself. So as one accepts guidance, as one performs activities according to prescription, so what is he doing? He is coming under the protection. He is getting free from bondage. And he is performing the highest welfare activity of performing devotional service. I am in Mayapur. In Mayapur, Prabhupada, 2 disciples were there, very, very famous. The head pujaris of ISKCON. His Grace Pankaj Angri Prabhu and Jananivas Prabhu. They came in early 70s in Mayapur. Until 2000, they remained in Mayapur only, serving the deities, Radha Madhav and Panchatattva and Narsimdev. They never went out anywhere out from Mayapur. So one devotee was interacting with them, and he said, you never left Mayapur? Aap kabhi Mayapur ke bahar nahi gaye? You did not feel like going to Vrindavan? You did not feel like going to Puri? And these devotees said that we were never asked, we were never told by authority to go to Vrindavan or Puri. We were told to remain here and perform service. This is great art of work. to work as we are being instructed, not to act whimsically, not to act according to one's own mind's liking or disliking. Then we are in the highest rung. We are in the perfection of Varnashram. So as Prabhupada is explaining, it requires expert guidance. It requires training. With training and guidance, one gains knowledge. And when one applies that knowledge, one becomes purified. And whatever action he performs, it is yajna. Because the purpose of performing the action is to please Lord Vishnu or Krishna. Nothing else. Does it answer your query? Yes, Duramani, I'm asking you.
As you told that the purpose of Varnashram Dharma is to please the Supreme Lord. So
Yeah.
as one is acting under the guidance, then the same purpose is being fulfilled. So
What is the purpose? What is the purpose of the part? Part. A spare part. What is the role and function of the spare part?
To serve the whole, Prabhuji, to serve the whole.
To serve the whole. Otherwise, it is useless. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Anyone else? I hope you are studying, you are reading, you are applying your intelligence to understand the principles which Krishna is revealing here. Very powerful principle of how to perform action, that every action becomes a sacrifice. Okay, if there are no questions, then I will end here. I have some engagement. So thank you very much. Please continue to study. I hope everybody has his own edition of Bhagavad-gītā, one copy of Bhagavad-gītā. And please keep reading, at least read one verse a day. We hardly cover 3-4 verses in a week. So even if you devote 10 to 15 minutes, you will be able to get a clearer understanding and inspiration what we have to do in our life. How to come to the stage of Yoga Karmashu Kaushalam. So thank you very much. Next Saturday, we will let you know, because I am not in Delhi next Saturday. So if there is possibility, we will have a class. We will let you know. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad-gītā Yatharoop ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Bhakti Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Nithai Gaur.